Day 8 practical of this control statement. Welcome back everybody. I'm Prakash Pradhan, your trainer for this entire series. In our previous two series, we discussed about all the theoretical concept, whatever the theories that were required or mandatory in order to be able to write a program using a control statement. We have completely covered. Now this session is basically focused on the practical implementation of all of those control statements. So if you have missed out previous two series or previous two videos for the theory of this control statement, I would like to suggest you all first go through that. Otherwise this video that we are going to see or do the practical implementation of this control statement may not be fruitful to you. So without wasting our time, let's move ahead. Let's start with the control statement now. Let's go to QBasic. So now I'm in my QBasic screen and we'll start the program for all of those control statements that we did in our previous session. So first I'm going to show you how if then can be used with the help of this QBasic. So let's say I'm going to assign two values over here and then let's say b is equals to 2. So if a is greater than b, then print a is greater. So it's going to make a comparison. Okay, and then it's going to execute this statement only in a case if the user specified this condition match as a true. So if I run it, so it's going to give a is greater. Okay, this is the easiest one. Now, but what if you say that, okay, it's going to execute when a is greater. But what if a is not greater? Let's say I'm going to make it 20. In that case, a is not greater. So if I run it, it's not going to give anything. Why? Because this condition does not match your criteria in order to display this statement. So that's why it's not displaying anything. Then when this statement does not match, that means b is greater. So if you thought that way and you wrote that b is greater, in that case it will work 100%. There is no issue because a is not greater. But what if I make it a greater this time? Guess the output. How many lines output will get displayed? Only this one or this one? I guess you're right, it's going to execute both. The problem over here is that first it's going to test this condition. If a is greater than b, then print this statement. So it gets printed. But you have not mentioned what to do after executing when this one statement is true. That means once the execution is done, the flow of program as per the sequence we have discussed in our previous theory, it's going to run the next line. That means obviously the flow of program is top to bottom. So in that case, if then will not be helpful all the time if you are having two conditions as a true or false. So in that case, we'll be using the next statement now. That one is a if then else. Okay, that's a multi-way branching now. That means two-way. So let's say now if a is greater than b, then I'm going to print a is greater. Because now we are using two-way branching. Okay, now else print b is greater. And don't forget, we have already discussed that if else is to be terminated by end if. Now this program will work properly. See, it's going to execute only one. Why? Because a is greater. How this execution is being executed? It's going to test this condition. When this condition is true, then only you execute this line. This is the statement that we have given. That means the command. If a is greater than b, then only take effect to this line. If a is not greater than b, then only you go for else statement. So that's why. So if I change this one, rather than your constant into a variable, let's say input a comma b. Now if I run it, both the time program is going to perform instructions. Let's say 4 comma 5, b is greater. Now let's try to make it a as a greater. Okay, 5 4, that means a is greater. So this way if then else will help you to compare a value between two and execute whichever is suitable for you. But there is still one problem. What if you would like to make a comparison in a number more than 2? In that case it's not going to help you. Now we are going to see how if then else if and else is going to use. As per the theory only I'm going to write the program. So here I'm going to supply three different values. Let's see now a, b, c. Now if a is greater than b and a is greater than c, then what would you like to print? That a is greatest. For example, what if a is not greater and b is greater than a and c? In that case, else if. Else if B is greater than A and B is greater than C, then what would you like to print? C is greatest. Okay, now what if A is also not greater and B is also not greater? You'd like to test for the C as well over here. Let's say else if C is greater than A and C is greater than B, then what would you like to execute? That C is greatest. What if you supply the same number all the 3 times and then we'll give one default output? Else is going to be act as a default output. So that will be all the numbers are same, let's say. And as we discussed that else if has to be terminated with the end if. So let's see now. I'm going to write first value as a greater one. Okay. So let's say 4, 3, 2. Which one is greater? A is greater. So now let's make it the second one as a greater one. Okay. So let's say 1, 3, 2. Which one is greater? B is greater. Sorry, C is greater is showing over here now. So let's check the condition. If B is greater than A and B is greater than C, then C is written. So what do I need to write? This is B, not C. Okay, so let's run it and make it again. So 1, 2, 3. C is greater. That's done. Now let's make it B as a greater. So 1, 3, 2. Which one is greater? B is greater. So now let's make it the A as a greater. That means 3, 2, 1. Which one is greater? A is greater. So it worked. Okay, it's a multi way branching actually. Now over here, what if I gave the same value? In that case, neither this condition match nor this condition match. Any of these conditions are not matched if I give the same value. So in that case, we have used one default output. That default execution over here is else. So let's try that one. Run. I'm going to run it and I'm going to give 1, 1, 1. Which one is the greatest? All are equal. You see, all the numbers are same. So I hope it was a bit clear to you all that how program can be written using else if and else. So let's take one more program over here. So let's take it one more example in this program. So I'm going to delete all of this and let's say we are going to find the even or odd or something like that. Okay, so let's say input, enter a number. Now that number we are going to store in A. Now we are going to decide in this program whether user supplied number is positive, negative or 0. Okay, that was done in theory, so we are going to try it over here also because I want you to see that those programs were actually right. So let's say now in order to make sure that the user supplied number is your positive, negative or 0, which statement is going to help you? That is SGN. So let's say C is equals to SGN of A. That means it's going to return -1 if the supplied value is given in a minus. It will return 1 if the supplied value is positive. And if it is 0, of course, it's going to say 0 only. So now if C is equals to -1 and then what do you want to print this? User supplied value was negative. Okay. Now what if the value supplied by a user was not -1, it was 1. That means a positive value. Okay, then I can give for this else also. Let's say user supplied value was positive. Let's see first for this positive and this negative. Okay, and if and end. So let's run it now. So I'm going to give a number, let's say positive number. So it should return user supplied number is positive. You see. Now, what if I give a negative? Let's say -90. So it's going to say user supplied number was negative. Okay. So now over here, with the help of this else statement, okay, with the help of this else if and else statement, we are able to make a decision between two values. Okay, but remember we were planning for the one default output as well. Okay, now for that I'm going to bring small change over here. Okay, so I'm going to write else if C equals to 1. Then print else if C is equals to 1, then I would like to print it over here. Will it work? So let's try that. Let's test the condition now. If C is equals to -1, then it's going to print supplied value was negative. Okay, now we are going to go for else if over here only, then we are going to print the next one. If user supplied value was positive and that's been returned by C as a 1 over here, C as a 1, then it's going to execute user supplied value was positive over here if it is a positive. What if you supplied 0? So that's a default value over here. So we're going to write you supplied 0 and then end if. So let's run it now. Again, let's give 4, it's a positive value. Okay, very well, it's working fine. Let's give a negative value, 5. Of course, it's working fine, it's a negative. What if I give 0? Now let's give 0. So it's going to say neither it's a positive nor it's a negative. So you supplied a 0. So that's why, you know, the if else and else if is sometimes far better in order to obtain your desired output with the help of your control statement. So I do believe it was clear to you all. Now, the one more statement we discussed in our previous session, in your control statement. Of course, we are not going to, you know, have a program right away for your looping statement. For loop, we are going to have a next program. That means the next video. Otherwise, it will be, you know, bulk for you, because you also need a space to understand. Now let's go for another one statement that we discussed last time. That was a select case statement. And if you remember, select case is used for the menu driven program. So let's have a look for the practical of that as well. So let's say let's make a menu driven program. Okay, so let's say let's say write this one for addition, for example. Okay, and then I'm going to write 2 for, let's say, what would you like to do? Let's say division. Okay, and then I'm going to give one blank space and write that enter your choice. So that choice is stored in a variable C. So that is the select case now. Select case C. If I press 1 in my choice 1, in that case it should be able to do the addition of 2 numbers and program should get over. So who's going to make a decision where you are supposed to be landed? So that is done by the select case C. So when I write C value as a 1, so this select will take me to the case 1. So I'm going to write over here case 1. So now in case 1 we have written the instruction over here for the menu driven program that we are going to perform the addition of the 2 numbers. Let's say just the addition of the 2 numbers. So let's say over here now enter first number, for example. I'm going to write first, input, enter second number. So I'm going to write second. So what are we going to do now? Over here addition. So let's say total is equals to F plus S. Then I'm going to write over here sum is equals to, where do we have? Total. Done. But what if I press 2? Because this condition is only for case 1. Okay, what if I press 2? So in that case, that will be case 2. In case 2, what we have? A division. Okay, so let's write the same thing. Enter first number. So we are going to give greater 1 over here. Now, sorry, we can use the same variable also, no problem. Okay, now input, enter second number. Now we are talking about the division. Okay, so let's say now division over here, or we mean to see this quotient. So let's write D only. It's okay for us since we are in 11 moment. So now F, remember this symbol, this is integer division, this is division. Okay, so let's write F divided by S. Then I'm going to write quotient is equals to, what will you like now? Value stored in D. Okay, but what if I press 3? That option is not given. So that is case else. That's a default value. So what we can write over here, you pressed wrong option, let's say, for example. Okay, then N select. N select is used to terminate the select case. So let's run the program now. So it's giving me an option. Okay, press 1 for addition, press 2 for the division. So let's go ahead first for the 1. So I'm going to press 1. Now it's asking me enter the first number 4, second number 5, answer is 9, and the program is over. Now if I run this program again, I choose the second option. So let's go for the second option. So I'm going to give, let's say 70 and it's going to get divided by 7. So 7 10s are 70. It's done. So what about having a decimal value? Okay, let's go for that as well. So let's say 79 then 7. Answer is 11.28. The value is given over there. But what if I give her, that means I press a number that is not in our option. That means that will be the wrong option. So what is the default output for the wrong option? You press wrong option. So let's try that one. So I'm going to print, let's say 100. It's my wish. But is there any condition for the 100? Obviously it's not there. So it's not going to give you the output in a form of your result. So that's why it's going to display the default output. And that default output is this one. You press the wrong option. Okay, so I hope all of the program that we did today, it was a bit informative to you, and now you all are also gaining the experience. Okay, now the level of confidence is also going up every day, I do believe. Now if you find it fruitful, okay, please do like. Now in our next video we are going to see the program for the loop, and that's gonna be quite more interesting than this. So I hope it was fruitful, it was easy for you all guys to understand. Do like and subscribe. Thank you.